Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue watching 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After, the episode that just came out recently. Let's watch. I'm going to react to it. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. And as I always say, don't use YouTube as a replacement for therapy. If you need a therapist, get one. You deserve it. Let's watch.
Business meeting?
Business meeting with
Okay,
Andrei.
I didn't know it was going to be a business meeting.
What business is he in?
So we get there, we sit down, and we chit chat a little bit, and then he's like, "So, I want to come be in partners with you." And
Dad, can you stop mocking how he talks and actually, let's
I'm sorry.
have a business meeting? This is very...
Okay, I'm glad that Libby Elizabeth stepped forward and said that. That is potentially racist, but at the very least, it's mocking, and there's no point in that, especially if you plan on going into business with him. You're going to start off by mocking the way that he talks, uncool, and Libby pointed that out, and the dad, to give him credit, said, yep, okay, you're right, I shouldn't do that. So good on the dad. I'm guessing that the family is used to mocking him behind his back when Elizabeth is not around.
I didn't know it was going to be a business meeting.
What business is he in?
So we get there, we sit down, and we chit chat a little bit, and then he's like, "So, I want to come be in partners with you." And
Dad, can you stop mocking how he talks and actually, let's have a business meeting? This is very unprofessional.
Okay. So he said,
Now, some of you might think, and I'm sure the family would say, that Andrei is deserving of mockery. Okay, but I don't think that you need to resort to childish ways of expressing your feelings. You can say, I think that he has hurt my feelings, or I think that he is irresponsible. You can use your words. You don't have to ridicule.
"You to set me up in business and loan me $100,000 so I can start flipping houses."
100,000? Are you freaking for real?
Raise your hand if you've ever got a $100,000 loan.
From Dad?
Just
That's the thing. Like, none of us have ever even asked us for that amount.
So this is interesting. We have learned a little bit more information. I've watched from the very beginning, and I've been really trying to figure out what the background is on this ongoing fight. The family seems completely against Andrei, and Andrei, although deserving of some, upsettedness, maybe not entirely, especially from Charlie, the brother of Libby. And we've just picked up on little things, and I just picked up on another. I didn't show the clip, but when Libby was leaving the house, Andrei was like, "I know you're gonna win because you're your dad's favorite daughter." Now, I don't know if Andrei was just saying that as a joke, but let's go with the possibility that Libby Elizabeth is the father Chuck's favorite daughter. And also, Libby Elizabeth, I don't know which to go with. They refer to her as Elizabeth on the show, but everyone refers to her as Libby in person. But anyway, I'll just say Elizabeth. So Elizabeth, in the interview, said that she always gets her way. And she knows that even though all of her siblings are going to be against this move, she knows that she can always get her way with her dad. And I can't believe this never occurred to me before. And maybe it did a little bit, but I don't think I talked about it. That maybe the entire family, all the siblings, and she's the youngest from what I understand, and all the other siblings, and mainly Charlie as the older brother, has for the entire lifespan of Elizabeth resented Elizabeth because she is the father's favorite. The father has a lot of power in the family. The father has a lot of money and resources and has been giving the Elizabeth a lot of money. Now, I was assuming that the father gives money to all of his children because that seemed to be the case. And I don't think I showed this clip from last season during the tell-all. Jen said, okay, how many weddings has Dad paid for? He's paid for 3 different weddings. He didn't pay for my wedding. He didn't pay for Charlie's wedding. And they seem to be comparing a lot. Now, as I've said before, one of the signs of, or one of the reasons why siblings will fight over money from parents is because not a lot of love and attention, not enough love and attention was given to all the kids. The parents went through a divorce, I believe. Maybe that was a complicating factor. Maybe their marriage was very occupying to them and they didn't have enough attunement to give the kids. Who knows? Just completely speculating. Also, when you have a lot of kids, it's hard to attune to each one sufficiently. So maybe that was a factor. Hard to tell. But if that's the case, that would explain why they scapegoat Andrei, because as the father accommodates Elizabeth and Andrei, the siblings have had a lifetime of feeling like they have been ripped off in terms of love and attention, but they focus on the money because it's easier to focus on that. And so when they are really attacking Andrei for the father giving him things, and the father's only giving Andrei things because the father wants to give his perhaps favorite daughter things. As they see that happening, they feel the pain inside of them and that hurt, that all those traumas come up for them. And then they get really angry at Andrei when in reality, they want to get angry at the father. They want to express their hurt and pain to the father. Now, who knows? I have nothing to go off of really to be able to say that. But it would explain a few things, I think. Let's continue watching.
You're gonna give him $100,000?
No.
Dad didn't even say yes. What do you mean it's happening? Dad never said yes.
What guarantees he's gonna pay you back? Like, flipping houses is very volatile.
I'm not saying I'm gonna give him money.
You better not give him money.
So the siblings are saying, you can't give him the money. And you just have to wonder why they're so invested in the father's decision. I think it's also just an ongoing resentment. I mean, they have so much contempt between each other. Jen and Charlie in particular have so much contempt for Andrei and vice versa. And so not only is Libby or Elizabeth in the middle, but I think the dad kind of is in the middle as well, which is interesting. Now, getting back to my conceptualization hypothesis that the siblings are really angry at Andrei because they're hurt by the father, it's safer to be angry at Andrei than it is to go to the father and say, hey, you disappointed me. Well, why is that more safe? Well, when you're not getting enough love and attention from your parent and you're desperate for that love and attention, if you were to complain to that parent, the worry is that parent is going to become even more distant from you. And so you have no safety or ability to go to that person directly. And so subconsciously you will deny that and displace it towards someone else.
Charlie, will you work with him?
Last time I saw this guy in Moldova, we found out he's a criminal. Then this guy tries to hit me, and now I'm supposed to just welcome him with open arms to the family business? Nah. He needs to come, basically, kiss our ass and say, I'm sorry for being That's just the bottom line. Not if he's...
So that's a little interesting way of putting it. It's one thing to say, hey, my feelings were hurt and I would like him to acknowledge that. Or, hey, I feel like he has been disrespectful to me and I don't know, I feel like we need to talk about that. It's another thing to say, he needs to kiss my butt. That is a particular way of looking at the world, right? That in order for this to work, in order for me to be nice to someone, they have to kiss my butt. And I don't think I've ever said that before. I don't think I've ever been in a conflict with someone and say, well, that person better kiss my butt or else I'm not going to talk to them. Like, it's an interesting lens at which to look the world through.
Earn it. Earn it.
That's not why we're here.
That's all I'm
I'm
saying.
not going to sit here and listen to this.
We just had a meeting about your
Bye.
husband the whole time. All we did was sit here and talk about your husband.
You're not going to say him. That's
Yeah,
my
I will.
husband, okay?
Because he's saying you to us.
No, he's
That's
not.
what
When
he's
did he
saying.
say that?
Yeah.
When did he
because
say
don't
that?
respect us.
Libby,
He
just
don't
When did he
respect
say
him.
that? And I'm not going
Yeah, because he's trying to troll us.
So Charlie believes that Andrei is trying to control the family. It's just that interesting. I just have to assume that for Charlie, they got off on the wrong foot. The conflict, they both contributed to it. And now, Charlie's walking around with like an extremely negative, contemptuous narrative of Andrei and vice versa. So I just have to assume that that's what's happening. And it's a tough situation. I mean, imagine being Elizabeth and your brother is just like, you know what? Screw your husband. And you're just like, what is going on? So, yeah, she's leaving. Tough situation.
Wow.
I'm just feeling like really defeated because my husband is trying and I know that he's trying and everyone is saying like he needs to do this, he needs to do that, but he's just trying to do what is best for his family and to make money. What's so wrong with that?
Well, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. He wants to earn money, provide for his family. But to ask for a $100,000 loan from your father-in-law, I mean, I don't know how much money the father-in-law has, but that's a lot of money. And there's other avenues to earning money, like training for a particular job or working really hard or experimenting with different careers that fit well with your skill set. So I'm not saying that he did a bad thing for asking. He certainly asked for $100,000, but I don't think it's automatically assumed that the father should give him that. I mean, that's up to the father for sure. I don't know the factors involved in that decision, but the father and the family certainly have the right to say, you know what, we don't really trust this guy. And why would they? I mean, at this point, Andrei has proven nothing regarding his ability to, because if you give a guy $100,000, you give anyone $100,000 as a business loan, essentially, you trust that they not only will be so savvy in business that they'll make the money back, but they'll make more money, right? And you have to really know that someone is going to be successful. And a lot of small businesses fail in the first couple of years. It's really hard to have a business succeed, particularly I think in the industry that he's getting into, particularly because he has zero experience in it. So, I'm not saying, I'm not going to get in, this isn't, financial podcast in Seattle. This is psychology. So I'm just a therapist. I don't really know about these sorts of things, just from my own personal experience. And as a small business owner myself, all private practice therapists are entrepreneurs. We have we pay our own taxes. We have our own, bills. It's a small business when you have a practice. And so I've learned how to, and I've also helped a lot of postgrads with their marketing, getting clients, making sure that they have their office, getting their malpractice insurance, all those kinds of things, having a business plan, how to have an accountant, the whole thing. But it's small business and it's not huge. Anyway, so maybe I do have a little expertise. Anyway, my point is that yes, I think if I was to identify what each side is valid for, Libby and Andrei are valid to ask and to hope, but they aren't valid to expect. And the father is valid to think about and to ask his family, because the father needs to know, if I allow Andrei into the family business, the family has to get along with him, otherwise he will fail. And so it was a good idea to actually reach out to them. The family, they don't think that it's worth it. They don't think that it is a good financial decision. Now, I hear two things. I hear one, that the siblings don't really have any say, but I hear the siblings saying that they've invested in the company themselves, and so it's partly their company, so maybe they do have some say. But anyway, it's fine if the family's like, look, we don't trust him. But the thing that I won't validate is that when Charlie is, completely contemptuous of and using swear words and verbal abuse towards Andrei, I'm not going to say that that's a good move. But, Andrei does it back to Charlie. So it's a tough situation to be in for everyone, especially for Elizabeth. All right. Well, if you haven't become a patron of the podcast yet, you can do so now by going to patreon.com. There's a link below. That's how we know that you like what we're doing. When you become a patron, it shows that you support us and that you like this sort of thing. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.